At the end of the day, the Chicago Bears are 2-0. Welcome to Bear Football here on the Barroom Network. John Buffone alongside Aldo Gandia and Tyler Ellis. Gentlemen, 17-0 at halftime. Final score 17-13. The Bears improved to 2-0, but there's a lot to talk about here. Now, like we said last week, much rather be talking about some issues after a win as opposed to what needs to be improved after a loss. But man, Aldo, we were talking about hopefully they can, set this. You were talking about putting reserves in the fourth quarter at halftime. They needed every last body in there to preserve that. It came down to the last play. The defense, I guess, didn't break at the end, although they did not look good throughout the second half. Immediate takeaways. Let's go around the horn. Aldo, immediate reaction after the game.
Well, I'm greatly disappointed. This is clearly not the second half we were anticipating. We wanted them to crush this team. They were injury depleted. They're on the road. The team looked so promising in the first half, and yet they start off the second half after the defense gets the Giants offense out, 3 and out. They throw an interception. And that seemed to deflate the entire team. It was sort of as the team didn't react well to that. The Giants get the ball back and not a lot of damage. But again, the Bears, when they come out on offense, they took the ball down about 9 plays, didn't have anything to show for it. And then that's when the Giants started to play with some aggression, with some efficiency, and the Bears gave up a 95-yard drive to the Giants offense, and that was just a stab in the heart. You just don't want to see that. Now, this defense is going to give up yards and points. They're not going to shut everybody out. But boy, oh boy, you just don't want to see it in a situation like that. And so it was deflating for a number of reasons, and we'll get into that. It's just so sad.
Mr. Positivity, Tyler, what do you got?
Sounds like I'm right on time. Hey, yo, first place in the division, fellas, 2-0, baby. Hey, yo, at the end of the day, we have 2 teams in the division 0-2, 2 teams in the division 2-0. Where would you rather be? I get it. I know. My heart, I can barely take it. I'm like, I'm telling my girl, I'm telling my brother, I'm like, I'm about to feel either 1 or 2 different ways in 4 seconds. Because if we would have lost, but yo, guess what? We won. And those 2 interceptions, because before everybody get the tweeting, everybody about to go there and bash them, those 2 interceptions, I don't believe were Mitch's fault. At the end of the day, you had a 50-50 ball, and you had a ball that got muscled away from Allen Robinson. No disrespect, but at the end of the day, you have a quarterback trusting his number 1 receiver. And so those 2 interceptions, they're going to look bad on the stat sheet and everything, but I'm not going to put that on Mitch. That's him trying to make a play. We won. I get it. Hey, we freaking won. And it's a big difference with the win, John, like you said. But the running game, staying consistent with the running game. When it mattered, we did what we did. I don't like the plays that led up to the end of the game. Me and my brother Jordan was talking about it. It was third and long, 3rd and 18. Mitch, thank you for not throwing a deep play, but I wish you could have got 6 yards, 5 yards. That would have been a big difference on that field goal attempt. All these little things mattered. Thank you for not throwing it away, but defense had to make a play because we were getting beat on the inside post. It was the inside post and then the outside flats that were taking it down a little bit, but we corralled it together, made a play when we had to. There you go.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack in this game because you can talk about the improvement of the running game. I think David Montgomery is probably superhuman. The dude doesn't stay hurt for more than 10 minutes before he gets back out there, and he wasn't even supposed to be playing the first couple of weeks. But but you talk about the missed field goal. You can talk about the defense giving up a couple of 4th downs late in the game when they needed to make a play. The lack of a pass rush towards the end of the game. You can talk about Chuck Pagano if you want to. You can talk about the offense not scoring anything in the second half. Not to mention the 2 interceptions, which I agree. the one that got strong arm, not Mitch's fault. That was, and I don't even know if the cornerback realized he intercepted the ball until they signaled that. The first one, he was trying to get the ball in. He made a real tight window throw. It got beat around and got intercepted. But there's plenty that is concerning, because eventually this team, if they're going to beat good teams, has to play 4 quarters. That playing a good first half isn't going to help you beat the Packers. I don't think just playing one good fourth quarter is going to help you beat some of the other good teams in the NFC. It's not going to. So if you are truly a playoff team, and that's what I think the Bears believe they are, they got to be able to put it all together. I think that, for the most part, and what we saw in the first half was everything was clicking, everything was going wrong, and then everything was going right. And then, like Aldo said, some of those interceptions, some of those plays, you saw just deflation. And I don't know how often you can have those big lulls and then still be competitive with some of these good teams in the NFL. So there's a lot to go over. Once again, ecstatic that they won. The Bears are undefeated. They are 2-0, and they did enough to win the game. But let's also put context on that we were talking about a stellar performance in the first half, and then they almost lost. We were talking about, hey, go for the jugular, get the pass rush going, make a turnover, and unfortunately, Eddie Jackson doesn't get called for a pass interference, and he takes it to the house. It's a different story. It was pass interference. I know a lot of people were upset about it. He did get there early. I thought it was a good call. Great jump on the ball by Eddie Jackson, and sometimes that might not get called, but I couldn't argue too much about that call. But there's just a lot to unpack here, because even though the Bears won, you just feel like, man, this is only going to get tougher. You can't keep doing this every week. This is not a good recipe for consistent winning. It's great, and I feel good, and my heart was going to explode at one point. I don't know where my hat went. I'm not wearing it. That I was wearing at halftime. I have no idea where it's at now. But there is just so much to just look over this team and be like, they're a conundrum wrapped inside a enigma. And there's a big question mark on the label. It's just a lot to unpack with this team.
Yeah. Now they're 2-0, but they should be 2-0, right? And so, I mean, you can play the philosophy of, hey, a win is a win is a win, but you got to be honest and say, are you going to beat good teams with that kind of performance? And the answer clearly is no. I mean, the Green Bay Packers are playing really good football. And so right now they look like the class of the division, and the Bears have to be better and much more consistent on offense and defense and coaching in order to beat a team like the Green Bay Packers. And they're going to face tougher competition in the coming weeks. So it's going to be a true test. Now, there's building blocks. There's, I'm with Gaines here. There's things that we should be proud of and things that we should build on. One of those things is the offensive line. I agree with Brummy Bear, who in the chat room said that the offensive line's play has improved. I totally agree with that. This offensive line is not the joke of the league like they were last year. This offensive line is playing well, and there's a big reason why David Montgomery went out there and saved this football game for the Chicago Bears. It was because the offensive line had a tremendous surge and blew giant players off the line of scrimmage. Now, you can come back and say, well, those guys are second stringers. I don't give a shit. They're wearing an NFL uniform, and our offensive line got the job done. Would you prefer that they didn't do that? No, of course not. So yeah, there are a lot of things to be happy about, but at the same time, we're all realists here. We all know that there are certain things that they've got to improve on. And one thing that I'm confident about is that this team will work on improving those things. They will do some self-scouting. I do believe that Matt Nagy, while he's not going to win Coach of the Year honors, I do believe he has improved as a head coach and now has a team of coaches around him that are going to hold him accountable. That's why we saw this team in the first half run the ball so effectively, and in the fourth quarter run the ball effectively. Why? I think it's because of Bill Lazor. I think it's because of some of the other offensive coaches advising Matt Nagy, you cannot abandon the run. This is what is working for you. So, I'm looking at this much more with a glass half full than a glass empty. But, hey, that glass empty, I want to fill it up all the way to the brim.
Yeah.
Guys, Aldo, yes, I'm all for building on the blocks, and we gotta be realist for sure. Can we beat good teams? You don't think about who you have to play when you're in the middle of a fight. You win the fight in front of you. At the end of the day, Pittsburgh was struggling with the Giants in the first quarter last week. At the end of the day, the Packers were struggling against the Lions today. Let's just step back for a second and appreciate the fact that we didn't score the rest of the game, and our defense that we had some concerns about held us down. When's the last time the Bears offense did enough in the first quarter and didn't have to do anything else the rest of the game, and we still won?
Yeah, they did, but they did not. I'm not saying that you have to have style points. This isn't the BCS where strength of win is going to go a long way. But the defense that you look at it and you're like, okay, they held them to 13 points. That's great. That's a great defensive performance. But you also, if you just look at the box score, that sounds nice. But when you look at some of the way they got chipped apart late in the game and the front seven weren't getting any kind of pressure, that Dion Lewis is right. Playing a pivotal part in that without, they don't have Saquon Barkley. So I don't know what the deal is on the front seven. I'll say this. Danny Trevathan looks slow. I love Danny Trevathan. I have always appreciated his game and what he brings to the locker room as a leadership, as a professional, as a person. I don't know. There were plays where it looked like half-speed jog. And I don't know if there's a lingering injury we don't know about. I don't know what was going on, but hopefully it's just taking him a few weeks to really ramp up. Maybe he's ramping up slowly, but there were times where it just looked like he was just a couple, not even a step slow, but 2 or 3 steps slow. And you have Roquan Smith, who's running around like he has his hair on fire, which is great. But right. Sometimes he's a little over anxious and he kind of predicts where the ball is going to be and it's not there. So you kind of got 2 different styles going on right there. But something has to happen as far as, Mac, if you look, I haven't looked at any of the tape yet. We're right. minutes after the game ended, but Daniel Jones should have been down quite a few more times. I know they got to him like 4 or 5 times, maybe 4. Right. But I just felt like there was more times where he could just go through all of his progressions and make the throw that he right. wanted to get, and that's something that even next week against the Falcons. You're not going to be able to do that when you got Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, and you saw Hayden Hurst ball out today a little bit. So and Todd Gurley and those boys. So you're not going to be able to just sit back on your first half performance even next week. I'm not saying the Falcons are world beaters, but you're not going to be able to just put in 2 good quarters and hope to win next week. So let's hope that they learn something from this.
At the same time, John, we got to remember, Matt Ryan, you're not going to have the same amount of time to let those routes develop, and so. Julio and Calvin, yes, for sure. But I think even from the first quarter, we can see what Quinn actually brought to the team. We can see some of those differences. I know what you're talking about, bro, because I counted like maybe 4 sacks in the second half. That should have been like Matt was going for the fumble. I saw Matt get his hand out a couple of times. Like, oh man! And if the DB was pressing that a little bit more, that would have went to our favor. And so you could tell we were playing bend but don't break. We weren't giving up the huge big play. Could you not be more proud of our rookie DB? Could you not be more proud of
Johnson played great.
I mean, like phenomenal. And if Buster stayed in the rest of the game because I saw him go down. And so when we talk about the Lewises in that slot, that's going towards the third DB. And so I don't know if Buster was able to recover from that. But even still, from a couple of black pay calls, it was ugly, man. But you know what? Whatever, yo. I
get you. I don't want this to feel like a doom and gloom or anything, because the Bears won and the Bears are 2-0. I'm just saying, last week could have been a much different story. This right. week could have been a much different story. But you do see how things change from week to week. You just see Bobby there say, well, look at what Anthony Miller we were talking about last week being a stud to drop some nice throws from Trubisky today. So that throw in the end zone he should have came down with, that would have been big. Mitch made another throw to the sideline, which didn't seem like a catchable ball at first, but when you go back and look at it, should have been it was a hell of a throw, probably should have been caught. So there were plenty of people that didn't live up to expectations today, but I'm not going to say there weren't bright spots. David Montgomery, not just in the run game, but look, He had 3 balls for 45 yards and a touchdown. Darnell Mooney showed up pretty well. He fumbled, but he fell on it. But he looks like a guy that they want to get involved in the offense. Cordero Patterson, 7 rushes today? Is that yeah. So I mean, obviously playing a big role in this offense. We see what they want to do. What I do want to see is with Cole Kmet 1 catch and Jimmy Graham 1 catch. Am I looking at that right? Yeah. Not a lot of tight end usage today, which we thought was going to increase this week. From last week, we thought that we were going to see more usage of them. We didn't see a whole lot of that. Now, whether the Giants are scheming that out, we don't know. I, once again, haven't looked at any of the film because there is none available right now. But there's some things to look at and be excited about. The line, the run game, their ability to have a sustainable drive and eat up 7.5 minutes on the first drive. But there's a lot of stuff that if you want this team to make a playoff run or you want them to be a contender, which I'm sure a lot of football fans, a lot of Bears fans don't even think that right now. There's going to be a lot of things that need addressed.
Yeah, and props to, again, I mentioned David Montgomery, but he had an all-around great game. This was the type of David Montgomery we need to see consistently on this team. He was effective as a pass catcher. He was effective running the football, and in a couple of plays, I caught him making some really good blocks in pass blocking. And getting back to Mitchell Trubisky, I really do believe that he could have had a much better game statistically if he would have been helped by his receivers. I mean, the Anthony Miller dropping those 2 passes is,
beautiful passes,
beautifully thrown passes. I mean, that was really disappointing to see after his big week last week. And so when Matt Nagy said, Mitch Trubisky has been consistently inconsistent. Well, the same can be said about Anthony Miller. And A-Rob missed a big pass down the sideline. It was a jump ball. I thought Mitch could have thrown it maybe a little further, made it a little easier for A-Rob to come down with the catch. But nonetheless, A-Rob should have come down with that. It appeared like he did, and it was snatched away. Good play by the cornerback Flowers, I believe his name is. So bottom line is this. When we look at the offensive line, when we look at the quarterback, and we look at the rushing attack, there is a lot to be thankful there. Yes, the numbers weren't there. Yes, the production wasn't there. But there are things there that we can say during when the players get back at Hallis Hall, we can say, hey, we can build off of this. We can build off of that. We can build off of this, and so forth. And then on the other hand, on the defense, there are some serious issues there, as you guys said, and it starts, I think, with the front 7, but mostly in particular that inside linebacker position with Danny Trevathan not playing anywhere near the level that he has played in the past is concerning. It's very concerning.
That goal line 4th down where Dion Lewis scored. Did you see the push that they got up there? Trevathan was just standing up straight. I don't know. He just got gobbled up from the snap. And then everyone else was at the end of it. They're just standing around like, oh, I guess we gave up the touchdown. Like it was an absolute overpowering of one line against the other. That was terrible. When you see Dion Lewis back there and you want to crash and try to make some kind of play, nothing happened. They just ran in. There was no resistance at all. So I don't know what Pagano has to do. I don't love how the defense looked today, and I think there needs to be some different scheming. And obviously, Pagano was not Vic Fangio, and no one thought that he was going to be, and no one thought that they were going to be running the exact same defense. We thought it would be similar, maybe more blitzes. I didn't see a whole lot of that today, but something needs to kind of shift there. Now, I will say this. Another thing that's kind of concerning is after each one of these games so far, and there's only been 2, that after the first one we're talking about, well, Mitch didn't play well, but he played better down the stretch. After this game, we're not talking about Mitch having a bad game, even though he threw 2 picks. I don't think that's the main narrative here, that Trubisky didn't get it done. I think if you look and you watched every play of that game, you say he's not the reason it was so close. He's not the reason that the Giants got back into it. There were drop passes by receivers, and there was a porous defense towards the end of the game that was allowing the Giants to rip off a 95-yard drive, which if you just stop them there, then we're not even having this conversation. But that's what's concerning to me is it always going to be something that's not performing up to snuff after every game? We didn't talk about, the defense being terrible last week because we were emphasizing Mitch. Now we're emphasizing the defense and the receivers, but we're not bringing up Mitch. What's it going to be next week? So
that's the beauty of this, John. That's the whole beauty of it, because the second preseason, however you want to call it, second game in, during the course of the season, that's when you're trying to get into your mode. If we can win games and figure this out, I'll take that.
It's better than losing, yeah.
But it's better than losing, because how about when it didn't matter about our feelings? If we were 0-5 or the bottom of the barrel, the laughing stock of the division. You see what I'm saying? We're operating from a position of strength. It's different now. Because no matter what eyes are on us, we got guys in their defense that's in their prime that should be playing stuff. But our young quarterback that's playing on with no deal pretty much through the 10 different receivers. That's saying something.
Yep.
One reception to both tight ends for double-digit yards.
Mm-hmm. I put this comment back up by Mandy. I totally agree with Mandy. The play calling, I put this up on Twitter at this point in the game, is that Matt Nagy, his play calling was bipolar-like. And what I meant by that is that sometimes he called a really brilliant game. There was some excellent play calling. But then, you've got David Montgomery basically clinching the game for the Chicago Bears, and then you get down to a third down and a fourth down, and you got Mitch Trubisky trying to pick up a third and short. That should have been David Montgomery's ball, either one of those downs to pick up that first down. It's stuff like that bugs me about Matt Nagy. We just need, he's the most inconsistent consistently inconsistent person on this team.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, because I think that there's always this need to try to outsmart people when all you have to do is line up and punch them in the mouth when you see that's been working. I wish that they would have at least tried it once with Montgomery, but Aldo, are you referring to that time where I think they threw it on third and fourth down and weren't able to convert on either one of them? I hated that. I hated it because not only does the clock stop after that, but you didn't even try what was your strength. Weren't they in that position at first because Montgomery was pounding it down their throat the entire field, and then they don't even try it again? I honestly feel it's just like, well, we can't become too predictable, or we can't become too repetitive because they're going to know what's coming. Who cares? They were pounding the ball down the field. Let them know. Tell them what gap you're going to. Let them know where it's going to be. Telegraph it. It's not. Sometimes it comes down to, this is where it's going to go. I'm going to punch you in the mouth, and we're going to pick up 3 yards. We don't have to throw bells and whistles and fireworks and firecrackers at everybody and smoke and deception over here, and then a wide run end around BS, whatever. Like, you just line up and run the ball.
Right.
This isn't. I mean, I know that there's a rocket scientist as a head coach, but he's not a very good head coach. So maybe we need to dumb it down a little bit and just run it through the line.
Thank you. Yes.
And particularly on that third down, Montgomery was open on that pass. Montgomery was actually open, but I think Mitch kind of stared down Allen Robinson on that drive, but Montgomery was open on the flat, and that smoke screen to Peterson. I mean, come on, coach. Those were like two of the four I can say that were really bad calls. But other than that, Mitch Trubisky did a good job of not losing us the game and keeping us in. And that's what I'm really proud on, John. At the end of the day, it's a lot to break down, but then when you take a step outside of it, judge back one game. Did we do enough to win the game? For us not to score. Think about the Giants. Think about what we didn't do. And now the Giants got to feel like, man, they didn't score since this time, and we couldn't even do anything. But they were scoring on Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And I agree with you. They did enough to win the game. But it's just one of those things where, remember, the attitude at halftime and the attitude now are just much different. And I know the results still turned out very positive, but I said this earlier this week. I want to see them just put it together once, put it all together from start to finish, have a game plan, execute it, and don't take your foot off the gas. And the defense took their foot off the gas. The offense stalled out or made errors or play calls. And it just seems like when you watch this team as often as we all do, and we watch it with, a lot of attention, you just see that there's always something just missing. There's always something that's just not clicking at a certain amount of time. You never see all 8 cylinders firing, and you'd love to be able to see that from start to finish. Now I know they still won, and I'm not going to try to turn this into a big critique of the Bears because they won the game, but eventually this will come back and bite them. You can't just play one half and then try to win the game, or you can't just play one good fourth quarter and win the games against better competition. So we'll see. They're not going to have much time, but we'll see. We'll see moving forward.
Now for 2 games in a row, we like that. We're 2-0. We're not dwelling on being, feeling like it's a tale of two halves. We're 2-0. That part we liked, but we do know we have a lot of improvement too. So there's a lot of good and bad in this game.
First question, Dan Wiederer.
Matt, both of Mitch's touchdown passes were off script and not by the design of the play. Your thoughts on him just being able to keep 2 plays alive and then turn them into 6?
Yeah. So Dan, that does happen a lot. And I think with that's a credit to him when you get a team that likes to drop 8 a lot. And that, I don't know if that was necessarily that play, but sometimes you'll have that where they just want to zone you out and make you make plays. And that last one happened to be one there where I thought Mitch did a good job at extending the play. And then he gave his guy an opportunity to make that touchdown catch. And so, again, I said it on the front end. I think that Giants defense, the things that they do, they're pretty good. And we just wanted to be able to continue staying with that run as much as we could. And I felt like our offensive line, tight ends, and running backs did a good job at that.
Jeff Dickerson.
And like you said, the defense, when they had to, they held them out at the end for the second straight week. But just overall, for the first 2 games, has this group played the way you thought they were going to play early on, your defense?
Well, for last week, no, they didn't. But they for them to keep them where they were with 13 total points in this game and getting those turnovers, and then playing pretty well this game, I thought you got to be pretty happy with that. So I'm happy with them. We can always be better. Our guys expect a lot, but again, for Robert Quinn to come in his very first play and have a strip sack. It does take a little bit of time as you start kind of creating who you are. But the only thing that matters right now is the 2-0. And then we just got to make sure that any area we can, we just keep getting better at it.
JJ?
Matt, to have 2 turnovers in the second half with a 17-point lead, what was your initial diagnosis of those 2 plays?
Yeah, the first one, it was a contested catch. The kid made a good play. The defensive back made a good play on the ball, popping it up in the air. Very similar to what happened to us last week in Detroit. And so I'll have to go back and look whether or not what the deal was there with the receiver and Mitch. And then the last one is just kind of unfortunate. We're in that position to go to one of our best players on the team and give him a chance to make a play. And I mean, I thought he had it, and then just coming down, it slipped out. And to their credit, he made a good play to pick it off. So it's unfortunate, but that's a part of the game.
Jason?
Matt, I know you're very self-aware of process versus result. I know 2-0 looks good on paper, but do you feel like this has been a good start to the season?
Yeah, Jason, I think like you're saying, I mean, 2-0 in this league. I just told the guys in the locker room, it's one of the things I said is it doesn't, like, the way that ended and just, the guys are tired and the way it went with scoring no points in the second half, it certainly doesn't feel as exciting as it was last week when we won with a comeback and scoring all of our points in the fourth quarter. So, but I also told our guys, now listen, it is not easy to win in this league. I don't care who you're playing, and we're 2-0. So what we got to do now is we got to go back and we got to balance out, okay, where are we at as a team right now? Do we like our identity, offense, defense, special teams? How can we get better? And that's what we'll do. I have all the confidence in the world of our coaches, and then the players, they'll criticize themselves too.
Do you, though? Do you like where you're at?
I would say we're just okay right now. I think we expect a little better, but I'm not criticizing our players and coaches. That's a part of being in the second week with no preseason. So we have high expectations and we want to be better. So I think that's just speaks to who our guys are as people. Yep.
Adam Hoke.
Hey, Matt, the 4th down play late that ended up in Bobby Massey's arms. What did you see there? What was supposed to happen?
We were looking for an outflank with David Montgomery in the flat. They zoned it out, and Mitch tried to extend the play by throwing it to his his tight end there that was sitting there, you know, in that hook curl zone, and then it got tipped. And so sometimes that's just how it goes. I looked over and Bobby caught the ball, ended up falling forward. And I you know, that's just how it goes. I wish we would have ended with some points there. We didn't get any points, but that was a big part of the game and being able to kind of chew up that clock a little bit since they were getting close to being out of timeouts or being out of timeouts.
Brad Biggs.
Talking about kind of running the clock down on the Giants at the end there. In the 4-minute offense, you had some nice runs. I'm assuming you just need some third down conversions to sort of walk away from this game feeling better about it.
Yeah, probably. That part I liked. I think they said it was 12 plays and around 59 yards when they know you're going to run the football because you're trying to chew up the clock. But yeah, we still want to be aggressive and attacking. And you know, they made a play there. Mitch, I thought, was heady by not forcing the ball on the throw. I thought for a second he was going to run out of bounds, and he stayed in bounds and slid. And then we had an opportunity for the 50-yard field goal, which, you know, you want to be closer to be able to kick that, but you have to at least give it an attempt to go up 7. So I like that part of the offense in regards to being able to run the football, but we got to, at that point in time right there, we got to be able to score a touchdown, field goal at minimum, to be able to make it at least a 7-point game.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey guys,
Hey Matt, you know,
I gotta tell you, you know, we all make fun of Matt Nagy's press conferences and so forth, and nobody more than John. But I think that almost everything that he said there made sense to me. I think, you know, he was accountable. He's not happy. The team can play better. To me, you know, it was an honest assessment of what happened and week 2 of the NFL for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, normally I'm used to getting a big bowl of word soup and having just to like decipher through that. But I think that we go around and around and around. Then we say next question. You're like, where am I? But I think that was pretty honest. I like the fact that he said it's like, how do you assess it? Has it been a good story? He said it's been okay. He understands that they could just as easily be 0-2 as they are 2-0. And I think that he broke some of that stuff down honestly. So that's refreshing. I'll say that. And so what that means going forward, I have no idea. And I don't know how you apply that to what they're going to do in the future. But it's nice to at least, for me, it's nice to not hear 2-0. 2-0 doesn't matter. 2-0, like a lot of coaches would do, because a lot of coaches would just say, because winning's the ultimate deodorant, so you just put it on and it doesn't matter. 2-0 is 2-0. But I think that he realized there's a little bit of context to these first 2 games, and that's nice to see. At least he's admitting, apparently, that he knows there's stuff that needs to be worked out, and you know, it's just not going to be like, hey, everything's, you know, roses coming up, roses, we won. So that's promising to me. And although you're right, I do just normally, I just don't take anything that he said. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm not, and I don't hold it against him. I mean, I know coaches, what are they supposed to say a lot of the times? I mean, they can't be brutally honest, or they can't call players out, or they can't tell you what they really think. So I don't hold that against Nagy. He's just a wordsmith when it comes to just here's the answer, and then let's go over this way. So that is refreshing to hear.
I got a question for Tyler.
Yeah, brother.
Tyler, have we seen the best of this Chicago Bears defense? It convinced me that this defense is going to play better as the season goes along.
Wow, thank you, brother. That just ignited something in me. I mean, yes, it's going to play better, because let's not forget about, you took me to a point I wanted to go to. Let's not forget about that interception. Eddie Jackson. I know he got called for it, but that was almost like they were going towards the ball. If the guy didn't like flop, I ain't gonna say flop, but that was a pick 6. That's what we were calling for. And so defense made some plays. Roquan Smith, that flag, he didn't even touch the guy. I'm gonna post that soon. He didn't even touch him. He actually, I was so impressed. Roquan Smith, who also led the team in tied tackles with 8, tying Eddie Jackson. Roquan Smith aimed for the ball when Jones was running, and he went over him. He didn't even he didn't even hit him. He didn't even hit him. If he would have hit him, it would have been all ball. But when it's bang by bang, it's like they're going to get called for it. The reasons why is because I believe we're only going to get better with Quinn getting adjusted, Danny Trevathan. I mean, we got stuff coming. We got young guys coming. And so think about it. With what we saw right now, what would not one draft or one round of free agency wouldn't fix? If you think about any type of potential question mark on defense, and there's not that many. I just feel like we're going to get tested as the season goes along. Next week is going to be a very good test, as in the Falcons have like 4 different targets, and not to forget about Todd Gurley. And so next week would definitely be a good test for us. But I'm going to tell you, why should you be encouraged? Because I feel like our Bears, they're very good at smelling blood in the water. They're very good at smelling blood in the water, and when the turnovers start coming, they start feasting. And then they start playing those passing lines even better. And that's when the turnovers come. And so at the end of the day, when we got the 3 and out, the defense had our backs today. As much as we wanted them to step up, when we went 3 and out, oh no, the interception, what happened next? 3 and out. Whenever it's a 3 and out, I don't count the interception. It didn't even happen. That wasn't the ball anyway. And so we're right back to that scale. So be encouraged, because guys are still going to be prone to swarming to the ball, gang tackling. You got linebackers leading safeties and tackles. I ain't mad.
Let me just ask John that same question, but phrase it slightly differently. Is that Chuck Pagano is the major difference between that outstanding 2018 season and the Bears defense that we've seen the last season and 2 games. Do you think Chuck Pagano is accountable for some of the diminishing play by this Bears defense, or do you think it's something else?
No, I think that he shares a big part of the accountability on that. And when Chuck Pagano came in, the people were talking about what's going to be the big difference between him and Vic Fangio, and they said Pagano tends to be a little more aggressive, so you might see some more blitz packages in there. You might see them trying to get after quarterback a little bit more. I didn't see a whole lot of that today, and I think kind of what Tyler was saying, we're gonna see we're gonna get their mettle tested next week, because in week 1 you face a Detroit team without their number 1 receiver in Kenny Golladay. This week you're playing against the Giants, who kind of had depleted offensive weapons to begin with, and then they lose Saquon Barkley in the first half. So next week you're going to have plenty of things that you have to account for. You're going to have Julio Jones. You're going to have Calvin Ridley. You're going to have a pretty competent quarterback in Matt Ryan. You're going to have Todd Gurley. So we'll see. I'm really interested to see. I'm not saying they're going to get manhandled. I'm just really interested to see how they will line up against a team that can attack you in multiple ways. So I think that's going to be a big test for them. And I want to see if Pagano goes about scheming for that a different way, or if he sees, holding a team to 13 points without, anything else going on. Okay, we don't need to change anything. We held the Giants to 13 points. We can do exactly what we did this week, and it'll work next week. I don't think it will. So we'll see. I'm just really interested in this matchup next week, because I think that'll tell us. I mean, obviously we're going to have a better opinion as weeks go along, but I think next week will be a really, really good indication of where they're at.
We can continue to talk football while I just roll some of the plays from the 4th quarter here. The Bears defense did protect that 17-13 lead. They played the prevent defense. They were bending, and it was nerve-wracking in the end, but they did come through, right?
Yeah, they did. I mean, in the definition of the word, yes. But that in that drive, how many times did they pick up a fourth? Here's a 4th and 4, right, and the completion. I think did they not complete another 4th down after this?
All the way down to the goal line. All the way down to the goal line.
Yeah, but that's what a prevent defense is. You just have to keep it in front of you, even if you're going to give up first downs. You can give up the first downs, give all first downs all the way to the goal line. Yeah. Just don't let them cross the goal line. So that is good. Now, it's not good for my blood pressure. It's not good for my health. Right. but that's the kind of how you play a prevent defense. Give them the stuff in front of you. Don't let them get behind you.
Yeah. At the same time, though, you don't want them to drive. Though you don't want them to get to the whatever yard line they were at. Where were they at? The 8-yard line, the 9-yard line, or 11 yard?
Right here.
Yeah.
4 seconds.
I get the prevent and keeping everything in front of you, but I would prefer them to not only have to make an 11-yard pass to win the game either. So,
sure.
I mean, maybe I'm living in a fantasy land, and I want my cake and to eat it too, because I'd prefer the defense just to get off the field on 4th down. If I don't get on a 4th and 4. the offense philosophy changes, because if they don't pick up the 4 yards, the game's over. So the Bears don't necessarily have to guard the goal line. You can do something different on 4th and 4, because then the game's over. You got to make one play and it's over. So that was a little frustrating, because I saw the guys looking almost gassed at the end, and they should be. They were on the field a long time.
But not only that, they just ran 60 yards downfield blocking for Eddie Jackson on the pick six.
That's right.
That literally just happened before that sequence. They came back and got corralled to do that. And they made the play and had to get it back in. Guys, when we talk about Chuck, as we may forget, is a special team. He is that's what secondary specialist. Okay, when we had Vic was the man. He was a linebackers coach. That improved our pass rush when we needed so much. When Chuck came in, he coached defensive backs, and so we would have got roasted here back in the day. 2-3 years ago, our DBs would have gave up a pass. I'm just gonna call it what it is. These are facts. It's not theory. Our DBs didn't give up the long pass touchdown. That's the difference. And that's the whole point of prevent. Bend but don't break. Our purpose was crazy. But nobody got beat except the underneath. And that's why they went to the inside post. And that's why they went to the flats. It was a late release. It was a block and a late release up the middle, and that was it. Deion Lewis's and stuff. But besides that, hey, Chuck, thank you, because look what he's doing with our rookie DB, yo. Look what he's doing with a freaking rookie. And so it's kind of godsend that Vic Fangio will lead the Tommy Lee. God bless him. I really like him as a coach. But he instilled enough into our front seven. Guys, we are missing Eddie Jackson. Eddie Goldman. Eddie Goldman is being missed right now. And so that's a premier talent. You just don't lead like that. But my man Mitch is talking. Let's tune in.
We go out there and finish. So we got to look at it, correct our mistakes, and keep getting better.
Adam Hogue.
Mitch, what was your view of the 4th down that ended up in the arms of Bobby Massey? What was supposed to happen there?
That's not how we drew it up. They zoned us out on a 4th and 1. So I was just trying to get it in there to Jimmy. They did a good job knocking it down, and luckily it ended up in Bobby's hands. His first career catch in a huge situation. So
hopefully his last.
Yeah,
we got lucky, but sometimes when you're playing hard, the ball bounces your way.
Mike Berman.
That you talked about the team balancing the good first half versus the bad second half. What about for you personally? Were you surprised because you'd had such a good first half? Were you surprised you didn't play as well in the second half? And what's the key for you to find that 4-quarter consistency?
I don't know if surprise is the right word, but when you put together 2 pretty good quarters in the first half and put up 17 points, I think going in at halftime, you expect to build off that momentum and come back and continue to play good football and score points. But I don't think we can't be worried about the scoreboard. We got to just continue to do our jobs and score as many points as we possibly can. When we go out into the field, no matter what happened the last drive, we got to be focused on going down, scoring points, and doing our job. So the expectations are just higher, and we could have put it away if we just did a little bit better in the second half. But like I said, it's a huge team win. We lean on our defense, and they continue to have our back. Special teams did a great job, and offense, we moved the football, but we got to score points.
A few more for Mitch. Dan Wiederer.
Mitch, the first 3rd down of the game with 3rd and 6 to A-Rob over the middle. Do you remember that play? And obviously the catch that Allen makes prevents a 3 or turns a 3 and out into a touchdown drive ultimately.
Huge. I mean, Allen's a big time player, and we know in 3rd down situations, if I put the ball up in his area, that he's going to go up and make plays for his offense. So that really jump started our first drive, and we ended up scoring a touchdown that drive. And in order to stay on the field, you're going to need guys to make plays. That's O-line, quarterback, receivers, tight ends. And you're going to have to throw into tight windows, and you're going to have to make tough catches, but that's just what we expect. And if you want to have a great offense, that's just the expectation across the board. But we've seen Allen make incredible catches all the time, and it's just becoming a habit for him to do that. So you put it in his area, he's going to make a great catch, and he did on that first drive, and that was big for us staying on the field.
We'll go one
JJ.
more.
Mitch, I want to go back to Darnell for a second. What has he shown you over the last, weeks, months that has given you so much confidence to point him out in the end zone and throw kind of a one-on-one ball to him?
Yeah, just the way his approach as a rookie is impressive, and it's good to see just how he's seeing the game, how he's doing his job, how he approaches practice, how he's working hard, how he's asking questions, how he's trying to be on the same page with me, how he's detailed in his routes, and you can tell he's making an effort to be on the same page, getting his depth, being in the right place at the right time. And as a quarterback, you just trust that, and it's really cool to see in a young guy that he's getting it right away and that he wants to learn because he wants to catch the football and he wants to make plays for this offense. So I think that's huge. And just getting the more reps I get with him, the more trust I'll get, and just making a play. When I saw DB's back was turned, I had a lot of faith that he was going to come down with that football. So I just put it up in his area and he attacked it and made a good play.
Thank you for your time, Mitch.
Tyler, what did you see there?
Come on, man. That's my quarterback. Yo. Who's listening? That's my quarterback. That's our quarterback. Shout out my man T. Rick in the chat. Yes, those picks were just as much on Allen Robinson as they were on Trubisky. Absolutely. And of course, Nick Foles would have made the reads. I just feel like Mitch look at his composure. He looks composed, he looks calm. He ain't trying to impress nobody. My man's playing football. Everything is not going to work out smooth. The blocks, the receivers, but those were dimes he threw to Mooney. Those were dimes across the middle. He was slinging that John. Those Jones was like, had to be like 89, 92 miles per hour, John. I mean, it was just like on third down, cuz. Come on, say what you want, man. Those were clutch throws.
No, I agree. I 100% agree with you. And I took shots at Trubisky last week. I'm not doing that this week because I don't think he played poorly. And even though I think there's going to be a lot of casual fans who are just going to scope over a box score and see 2 picks from Mitchell Trubisky and be like, oh, look what happened. Right. He came back down to earth. Well, that wasn't the case. If you watch the game, he did not play poorly. He should have had another touchdown onto that stat line because Miller dropped a beautiful pass. He dropped another one later on in the game. So if you really watch the game, those interceptions weren't awful throws. I mean, he got, like we said, he got strong. A-Rob got strong armed on one. The other one was a tight window throw that just happened. It got battered. It got beaten, and they got picked off. But Aldo, what do you got on deck here? Is this one of the interceptions, or? Let's see what we got.
This is the Mooney touchdown.
Okay, so he's creating time with it, and like you said, Aldo, earlier before, he kind of made it look a little more hectic than it was because he had a clean pocket there.
The pocket moved. The pocket moved. It was like a wave for him. The pocket just moved where Mitch goes, but look how Mitch is keeping calm with his shoulders. He's looking downfield. He's scanning. Look at the footwork. Oh no, get out of here. That's awesome. I'm telling you, if Mahomes, if any other quarterback in the league does that, they talking about it all week. They talking about it all week. Oh my God.
Let me tell you how I see this play. All right. So he gets the snap. He's making an adjustment at the line of scrimmage, probably a protection. He looks to the right, and then all of a sudden he doesn't see what he wants, and he's thinking right here, I'm going to run with the ball.
Yes, exactly. He tucked it.
Wait a minute. I was coached to stay in the pocket. And so he goes back to the pocket, and then he's looking around, and then he throws the ball.
Yeah. Which it's a great, he played it great. He literally tucked the ball, he gonna take off. He's like, nah, I got a little bit more time. He runs back into the pocket. He sees a one-on-one, and that shows the confidence that not just the coaching staff, but also Mitch Trubisky has in Darnell Mooney already. This is a 5th-round draft pick who got put into a much more. I don't know if they were expecting him to get this much field time this early, week 2, where they're already giving Ted Ginn a healthy scratch. And I saw on Twitter, I forget who it is to attribute it to, but it said, is Ted Ginn this year's Mike Davis, where you thought maybe he was going to have a bit of a role, and he ends up playing no role, and then you can cut him, and then you get a compensatory pick for him down the line at some point. So maybe that's a Ryan Pace, compensatory draft pick kind of thing. So, but.
Guys, I counted like 3 really good clutch catches by Mooney, but also a big time heads up on the fumble. On that fumble going down, that could have been horrible. I could have erased a lot of different things if he didn't just get down immediately. So for Mitch to have faith in him, the coaching staff, and then to show up on the field. We talk about going from the practice field to on the field. This is live. These are live bullets.
Yeah.
these are live bullets. You cannot, guys, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Let's go down to the last 10 seconds. You can't create that type of pressure.
Right.
You cannot create that type of pressure. I know I just switch gears from the offense, but like for our defense to hold under this kind of pressure from this game presented. I mean, there's wins inside the win, guys, that I feel our coaching staff is definitely going to be able to build on.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that, but I just want to get this one last point out about this play. Look at the blocking of Charles Leno, the left tackle. And again, I'm just giving the guy props because he gets so much crap from us. Look at how he keeps his lineman in front of him. He switches off to the defensive back who comes at him, and he just got the job done. And so I'm no offensive line technician or anything, but that to me looks like a heck of a job. And you could probably say the same thing about everybody else that was protecting the passer there. They got the job done. So kudos to the offensive line. They get a lot of crap from us, and so it's time to give them a little bit of attaboy. But John, you were going to say.
Well, yeah, just to build on that last point that you made there, Aldo, you saw Cody Whitehair a few times peel off his initial block and get to the second level and take on a linebacker, which sprung a lot of those big spurt plays from David Montgomery. So you can listen. Most of these guys outside of Jermaine Ifedi are the same guys that were here last year. What's the X factor? What's different about it, Aldo? You know what it is.
You know who it is. You know who it is. It's the dude from Philly.
Yeah.
Philly.
Exactly.
The dude from Philly.
Yeah. I mean, if it's the same guy and you take out one ingredient, you put one new one in, and all of a sudden you got a better cake. It's pretty easy to figure out what it is. So I think Castillo's doing a great job so far. We'll see if this stays consistent, but I couldn't be more surprised and happy with how the line has been playing the first 2 weeks. I thought that was going to be a big thing moving forward. Even if Mitch gets the starting job, he's going to be running for his life again like he was last year. And that caused a lot of poor play last year on a guy that was already struggling. So a big props. I don't think it's any coincidence that Mitch is playing some better ball when the offensive line is also playing better as well. I think
who would have thought?
Yeah. Who would have thought that it takes all 11 guys rowing in the same direction to get to where you want to go? Yeah.
A healthy offensive line, available offensive line. They're available, strong, moving the pocket forward, moving to the zone blocking scheme, doing a heck of a job on the inside. That's just awesome. It's so awesome. And are we gonna put that finish on that scramble by my man Mitch? Are we gonna show his wheels? And my man Mitch was shaking and baking over there for the first down. That was clutch stuff.
Yeah,
these intangibles that he brings to the table. Once a time again, if he wasn't for me, my brother was talking about. If he didn't get these interceptions, but I feel like he got 2 more touchdowns. I'm like, are we talking MVP? I'm gonna say it. I don't care who call me crazy. MVP, why not? He had 3 touchdowns last game. He had 2 this game, right? All you gotta do is just stay there. And then what gives you the most kind of attention? W's, bro. At the end of the day, in November, they're not gonna talk about the fourth quarter and the second quarter. They're gonna look at the W's. So my man Mitch, it's a team win, y'all.
I'll give you this. I think Mitch is on pace to throw like 40 touchdowns this year. So not that I think that's going to happen, but it'd be great if it did. But Tyler, I wanted to ask you the same question because Aldo and I talked about this on Buffone 55 earlier this week. By the way, every Wednesday you should be listening to that show. It's great. But I asked Aldo this on the back end of the show. Going into this year, I said the front 7 is going to be the strength of this defense because they're going to put pressure on the quarterback. They're going to take a lot of pressure off of the secondary because they don't have to hold on their assignments as much. And so far, maybe we've seen the opposite because you even saw on Akeem Hicks's his sack today, he kind of saluted the secondary because it was a coverage sack. They held their guys long enough for Akeem Hicks to get in there and get to the quarterback. Are we seeing a different strength in the defense now? Is the strength in this defense possibly becoming the secondary, and then the front 7 is the one that is going to benefit from that? Or do you still feel like the pass rush is going to be the strength of this defense?
Great question, brother. I truly feel like somebody from playing defense, not at this kind of level, but they're one and the same, bro. They're one and the same. They truly feed off each other because we cannot. the guys in the middle don't get the credit. But if without Goldman, without Goldman, it's like, yo, y'all know we down. It's like 2 seconds. Let's just take 2 seconds off what these quarterbacks are normally getting. You know what I'm saying? Jones doesn't step up into the A gap that confident that he's there. It doesn't happen. So the fact that our DBs are playing so aggressive, I mean, Eddie Jackson, in my book, really earned his money today. He was just all over the field, even after the tackle. But to be in a position to make 8 tackles, like linebackers, what's up? That means he's coming downhill a lot. I mean, come on, Danny. Come on, Mingo. Yeah. I mean, but Roquan was silent, but he was deadly. And I really appreciate him for that. And so, but to your point, yes, that secondary is becoming a strength because guess what? They're not giving up points. So they're not giving up points. So what would normally be considered a weakness, they're holding their own. They're holding up their man enough, 4 to 5 seconds, right? Maybe under 4, for enough for the sacks to get there. That sack by Hicks was beautiful. Hicks said enough. He went and got him. But that doesn't happen if the slot and the hot route weren't covered, which is total credits to the DBs. And at the end of the day, we could talk about who it is. I think it's interchangeable week to week, depending on the matchup. But the one thing on a united team is that they're playing together and off each other.
This is late in the fourth quarter when David Montgomery took over and just had some magnificent runs, and then we'll get to see that play that Gaines was referring to with Mitch scrambling around there. But again, this is Montgomery with just some
hungry man.
Look at Whitehair on one of those runs where he got to the second level, and he was the reason that play got to where it needed. And there's that scramble that Gaines is talking about.
Huge.
He walked the high wire there to get past to get the marker. That was impressive.
Yeah, I want to see that again. I'm gonna go back and just see that again, see if I can do this without screwing things up. But because I've just been calling for Mitch to run the ball more because that's part of his repertoire. That's part of what he does so well. And I'm glad that, he did that here.
I'm fake. You saw him those ankles?
Yes.
You saw those ankles?
Very nice. Very nice. And then this is where it got a little weird with
weird play call.
3rd and 1. You just have been running the ball so effectively and you abandon it. And thankfully, here on 4th and 1, you get the tip, and Bobby Massey catches his first NFL pass.
Hey, number one rule, ball don't lie.
Yeah.
The ball does not lie. It applies to basketball and football too. Hey, thank you, football gods. Thank you, football gods.
And, props to Massey for getting up. He got put on his butt, and he could have just sat there for the rest of the play. If he sits there for the rest of the play, he doesn't catch it. So I mean, I'm trying to build this up a little bit more than what it was, a freak show kind of thing. But good for him to get up. We see him just picking off again. Staying in bounds. I like that.
And somebody in the chat room 15, 20 minutes ago asked about that. We talked about that missed field goal that the NFL Films, which has provided these highlights on their YouTube channel. What did you guys think of when Santos missed that field goal?
What? Well, yeah, that's of course. Yeah, duh. I mean, it's there's going to come. We haven't had to really deal with this yet. Right. But there's going to come a time, and I don't know what the status on Eddie Pinheiro is, and everyone's talking about how great Cairo Santos was kicking in camp and how he would have won the job last year whenever they brought in 25 kickers, whatever it was, for the job. They said he would have won the way he was kicking in camp, but he didn't kick very well. If you look at his regular season stats, they're not all that great. So there's going to come a time this year when the Bears have to make a field goal to go ahead or tie or win the game late. How confident could you possibly be? I mean, how confident could you really be if it's a 45-yard field goal and either Cairo Santos or, for that matter, Eddie Pinheiro, because we haven't seen him kick in over a year either. So who knows what's going on with him? But I go into that. I saw them lining up for that, and I was already mentally prepared to see him miss. That's where I'm at with this. I'm already mentally prepared. Like, okay, if and when he misses this, where's the ball going to be spotted? Right. How much time's going to be left? What does the defense have to do? I'm already planning for that. And if he makes it, I'll be elated, surprised, and ready to great. I'll be, throwing confetti. But at the same time, I'm already planning for the most part that those kind of kicks outside of the 40-yard range are not going to end well.
Right.
So but we're going to eventually this year, they're going to have to attempt the kick to win or tie.
It was good practice because you can't put those kind of situations in practice. Maybe he's making those. I think they were talking about it this morning on the Barfly Tailgate show. I mean, he was at Soldier Field kicking, so maybe he was making those kicks, so they had confidence in him. But it goes back to the play calling. The play before that, it wasn't really a well-designed third down call. Those 4 yards, 5 yards would have made a difference in the situation. And so it sucks he missed it. I don't want to deal with that situation again. Dealing with kickers and stuff. I feel like we passed that. I feel like we've evolved past that, hopefully. But
I was going to say, I said this earlier. I don't even know when it was, but I think that we are, as Bears fans, forever cursed to wander the desert from the curse of Robbie Gould, looking at guys like who was kicking it, Connor Barth and Cairo Santos and Cody Parkey, and they signed Roberto Aguayo off the scrap heap for once, and I think he missed a field goal so far that it hasn't even landed yet. They are.
You forgot Cookie the Clown.
Well, you know what? It's at least bring. I'm just so tired of talking about kickers. I just want some consistency. I know that there aren't that many like automatic kickers, and we even saw Gostowski fall apart for the Titans last week, and so it happens. But this has been kind of a recurring theme and a recurring joke amongst Bears fans and football fans for too long, and it's getting to the point now where it's just like, okay, it's funny to talk about sometimes, and we can kind of joke about it now. We're not going to be so happy if Cairo Santos misses a 38-yard field goal and the Bears lose by 2. So I'm just trying to mentally prepare myself that situation is eventually going to arise, and I need to center myself for whenever that time comes.
Last week he was clutch. He was clutch last week. A lot of players, a lot of kickers around the NFL last week missed a lot of games were lost through the kickers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just turning our attention to the NFC North briefly, are you guys surprised that the Vikings are 0-2 and that the Vikings look so miserable today, losing 28-11 to the Indianapolis Colts? Kirk Cousins, 11 out of 26, just 113 yards, 3 interceptions. Mm-hmm. And what do you guys think? Is this Vikings team reached its peak a year ago, and now they're going to be the cellar dwellers of the NFC North?
Well, we saw that they were kind of trying to rebuild on the fly this offseason, where they were acquiring draft picks and then trading, and then they lose Kevin Stefanski, which I think was going to be was probably going to have a bigger effect than what they thought. And you have this shortened offseason, and they're trying to throw a bunch of stuff together in a small amount of time, and this is what you get sometimes. I mean, we've seen quick fixes and plug and play guys, and we'll go acquire this guy, and the Bears have done that kind of stuff where it's just like, okay, we got him, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. It's going to be a seamless transition, and everything's going to be fine. This isn't a machine where you pull out a part and you replace it and it just runs great. I mean, football is much different. It's even different than other sports like baseball, where you can go acquire a guy who's a big bat, you just plug him into the lineup, and all of a sudden he's producing. So football is different. You're dependent on 11 other guys on the field, and if you haven't been around them long enough, or you haven't been practicing with them, or you don't know the scheme well enough, you're going to get this. Now, I don't think they're going to be terrible, because I still think there's a lot of talent on that ball team. With Dalvin Cook, he didn't look great today, but he played better towards this down the stretch in garbage time. But Adam Thielen, Kirk Cousins is not a complete wash of a quarterback. He's serviceable. So I honestly don't think they're going to go 3-13, but I also think that I was expecting them to be a big test for the Bears. I feel a lot better about it now. I'm not saying they couldn't slip up and lose to the Vikings. I'm not saying that's not completely within the realm of possibility, but I don't look at that and saying, oh, this is going to be an uphill climb against the Vikings, because I think that they aren't what they thought they were going to be. And I went kind of inverted Denny Green there, but I think that they're going to be a much better matchup with the Bears than what I initially thought this year.
What do you think, Tyler?
Man, all I know, they picked them. They picked the Vikings to finish ahead of the Bears. That's what I know. The past 2 years, have the Bears swept the Vikings the last 2 years? Can somebody research that and find out for me? I'm pretty sure the Bears eliminated the Vikings from playoff contention the last 2 years. But every single year, the Bears are picked to finish bottom of the barrel. So do I feel sorry for them? How they doing? I don't care. Respectfully, be cool, homie. You know why? Because your quarterback's getting $9 million guaranteed, and you mess with my man, Mr. Trubisky. Keep my man Mitch out your mouth if you give a quarterback $40 million, and you got a coach secondary who's depleted with injuries, Hooker out for the game. And so the fact that Kirk says, hey, yo, sorry, bro, what you want me to do? Like, yo, I mean, sorry.
I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for him.
Good job. Good job. You do what you do. You do what you're supposed to do. And so we appreciate you.
Absolutely. Now the Lions join the Vikings in the cellar of the NFC North. Both teams are 0-2, and the Packers and the Bears are now in first place. Both teams 2-0. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers was 18 out of 30 for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. Their running attack got a big boost when Aaron Jones, I think he ran for like a 75-yard touchdown, 168 yards total yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. He's looking good. So it looks like the Packers have a nice, well-rounded offensive attack. Detroit is Detroit. We know they're not going anywhere. Although Adrian Peterson was held in check to just 40 yards today. So
on 7 rushes, though, he still averaged about 5.9 a carry. But Detroit is going to get better, I think, going forward. And obviously Kenny Golladay again did not play. So that I think that as the season goes on, that's going to be a tougher test. I'm not sure when the Bears have them again. I think it's
late in the season. I believe.
Yeah, I was going to say I think it's on the back end of the season, so anything can change. I mean, the NFL, as we saw today, with all of the injuries across the NFL, the Bears were lucky that they got out as clean as they did, with Montgomery actually coming back into the game, where you see Saquon go out today. Even Christian McCaffrey left the game. Jimmy Garoppolo left. Raheem Mostert. The Niners got decimated today. There's names across the board with serious injuries. And so the Bears, and obviously we don't want to see anyone get hurt, but if you just look at this as black and white, the Bears got out pretty clean today. And I think this year, more than other years, is going to be a big year of attrition. This is going to be who has the most healthy bodies, because this is unlike any other year where you kind of just had to start the season. There was no easing into it. They were just like, boom, week 1, go play. And so you're seeing these guys who maybe some of them didn't get into game shape, or maybe they got into game shape, but their bodies weren't conditioned to take those kinds of hits, just because training camp was shortened. There were no preseason games. So we're seeing guys go down. So if the Bears can stay healthy, that's going to be a big advantage to them moving forward. And, fingers crossed and all that. It's only week 2, but so far, so good.
There you go. All right, guys, I think we're getting close here to wrapping things up. Let's just kind of get some final thoughts on the game today and what's ahead next week facing the Atlanta Falcons. I believe that game is on the road. Not that it really matters. Road or home, it really doesn't matter, I guess. But why don't we start with Tyler and get his thoughts?
I mean, we got the W, guys. We got the W. At the end of the day, we live to fight another day. We're going to correct a lot of things. Coach actually had a very transparent post-game interview. Yeah. And that's everything that we can really ask for. Everybody's not really being fooled. There's nobody thinking we're fool's gold. Nobody thinks that we are the Super Bowl champions, that we have arrived yet. And so, but we're just on that side that we get to fix things. So final thoughts is, it's going to be a great week of preparation. We know what we got to do. We're going to go back and watch how Atlanta kind of dug in Dallas, and what we can do to figure all of that out. And then at the end of the day, we're gonna bear down. Atlanta presents a different type of challenge across the board. And so from that going forward, it's all gonna be super big exciting to even talk about. And so it's gonna be a great week. We're gonna bear down. And what you got, John?
Listen, I've been wearing the crown as the cynic of this show since we started it a couple weeks ago. But I'm actually not as cynical today as I was last week. Whenever they came back, and I said, well, that a lot of things happened. They look bad. They played poorly for 75% of the game. Well, this game they only played poorly for about 50% of the game, so we're making progress. However, I will say you saw some big strides today. The line showed that they can play. The running game showed they can play. The play calling was pretty good outside of a few instances. The defense, listen, they gave up some big plays, but they did hold a team to 13 points in the NFL. Not easy to do. It's a win. Bottom line, Bears are 2-0 moving forward. They're going to have a heck of a test next week. The Falcons, they just got off of a shootout with the Cowboys. I think they lost on a last-second field goal. Right. So they're going to have a heck of a test because I don't think 17 points does it next week. And I honestly think that with all the weapons that they have on offense, with I've already rattled them off again, but Julio, Calvin Ridley, Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, even Hayden Hurst getting into the action today. So I think that they need to really look at the tape, look at some of the tape from the Falcons and say, I don't think that they're going to hold the Falcons to 13 points, and they're going to have to play offense all 4 quarters. They're going to have to score a little more frequently and not just, hope that they can hold a team off late in the game, because I think that's going to be a different beast tomorrow. I don't think the Falcons are going to be Super Bowl champions, but I think that they have enough weapons where the Bears have to play a complete game. So we'll see. I'm excited. I think they can do it. I think they're capable of doing it. I think next week's going to be a huge it's going to be a huge, not just a gauge of where they're at, but it'll really show people what this team is capable of whenever they're tested against a good offense. So I'm excited. 2-0. Let's take that over 0-2. Let's take that over 1-1. Let's take that over. I'd much rather have the Bears season right now than the Lions season or the Vikings season or any of these other teams. There's a lot of other teams that I'm glad I'm rooting on the Bears, because there's a lot of teams that you can look at and be like, their season's done already. so let's be thankful that the Bears actually have enough to win these ball games and that they can improve and can maybe beat some of these big competitors down the road. So I'm excited. I'm hopeful, and you don't hear that a whole lot out of me, but I'm hopeful that this team can really put it all together at some point.
There you go. I'm hopeful too, and I'll tell you that in the 1985 Chicago Bears season, greatest team in the history of the NFL. Many people think the Bears won that game, but they won it ugly. Their defense, that was so dominant, gave up 27 points, I believe it was, and they won like 38-27. And so what we see in the beginning of the season isn't necessarily what develops as the season goes on. This team has all the tools to play at a much higher level. And so we're going to get more improved play from Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. That has to happen. We're going to see some of these younger guys like Roy Robertson-Harris and some of the other young defenders. Jalen Jennings, who's already promised us that he's going to be playing top defensive back play. He's already shown that he can. He's going to get better as the season goes on. And so there's reason to be optimistic that this Bears defense, that they're going to play a quarterback next week who threw for 4 touchdown passes, Matt Ryan, but that they aren't going to play the same kind of at the same kind of level that the Dallas Cowboys did, and the Cowboys blowing a 20-point lead to lose to the Falcons. And then with this offense, I know I've been fooled before, over my 4 or 5 decades of following the Chicago Bears team, but I just saw a promise from Mitchell Trubisky and the rest of this offense that they're going to play at a better level, at a more consistent level. I take that with some cautious optimism, and we have to have that as Bears fans. I mean, I'm learning this from Tyler. He is the most optimistic Bears fan in the universe, so we have to have that. And I'll finish with this in saying that we've got a big week here at the Bears Barroom Network. Besides John Buffone previewing the Atlanta Falcons with Alyssa Barberi and their special guest from the Locked On Falcons podcast, Aaron Freeman. Aaron is going to tell us what happened to the Falcons today, and he's going to give us he's been our guest in the past, and so this is a guy that you really don't want to miss. This guy knows his Falcons football and knows NFL football, so he's going to be great. But we also have the debut of Pass the Mic. John, tell us about it.
Listen, this is a project that Alyssa Barbieri and I have been working on for a while, and we're finally getting to debut it this week. And this is a show all about empowering female voices in sports media. And obviously, if you're around the Chicago area, you know that even recently, there's still been harassment and cheap shots taken at female voices in sports media. And unfortunately, it's still going on. So what we want to do is we want to spotlight some of these voices, talk about their journey, talk about their struggles. At the same time, we want to talk about sports too, because that's what they love to do and that's what we love to do. So we're going to be showcasing a lot of female media members from different sports. I know a lot of our listeners are Bears fans, but that means you're also sports fans. So we're going to be talking about football, baseball, basketball. We'll be talking about everything. I mean, no matter what it is, we're gonna touch on it. So Alyssa's really going to be a prominent part of this project. I don't want it to be about me at all. That's not why we started that. So I want what we're pushing towards is making sure that we're going to spotlight some voices that maybe some of our listeners wouldn't have otherwise heard, and that what that does is that brings a big collective voice in. You listen to someone that you may not have otherwise listened to, and we start sharing ideas, and we start kind of internet working there, and it's going to be a great thing. It's going to be really fun to do. We wouldn't do it unless we thought we were going to have a lot of fun doing it as well. So be sure to listen to that later on this week. I believe it's going to be on Thursday. So be ready for that. We have a pretty good guest signed up.
Well, tell them who it is.
I was gonna tease it, but a name that some of the Chicago fans might remember, obviously know very well, Peggy Kusinski. So she's going to be talking about her journey to the top and being in a major market like Chicago, and some of the struggles that I'm sure that she has faced throughout. And so I am ecstatic that she is going to be the one that's leading off this show, and some of the great guests that we have lined up moving forward. It's going to be amazing. You don't want to miss it, and and you can listen to it anytime. It's going to be downloadable anytime, and this is going to be a whole library of these kind of shows that we're doing. So just super excited to be a part of this project moving forward.
That's right. We've got a lot more great things happening at the Barroom Network. A lot of them happening this week. We're going to reopen up our swag shop, our merchandising shop. We're opening up our Patreon program where you can subscribe for $5 or $10 a month to get some really, really cool extras. Follow our social media channels for that. We've reopened our website, bearsbarroom.com. In a couple of days, it will also take you there if you type in barroomnetwork.com. We're posting stories every day about the Chicago sports teams. We got a lot of great things. And I can't think of a better way of wrapping up this show than to turn it over to my man Tyler, because he's so inspirational in his words. He's always got some great advice about how to keep yourself fit, how to keep yourself sane, how to keep yourself just going all the time. So Tyler, take it away and we'll close the show.
All right, brother. I know you're too funny, man, but I appreciate you, man, for sure. And then, John, every time you talk about the show, man, I'm like, man, just start the show right now. Man, you want to listen, man. I just really, really love that show. Just the mindset behind it. God bless you. I'm saying every time you bring it up, especially this week. And I'm sure you all are aware of some things that took place with some female reporters getting kind of disrespected. So I just feel like it's a God bless you, bro. And so it's really, really awesome. And so, Bears Nation, Bears fans, let's just enjoy the sports week. I mean, it's going to be a great week no matter what. At the end of the day, let's stay centered in our thought process that the game is never over, and we apply that to every aspect of life. Okay, anybody can be good in the first quarter, but who are you going to be when it's 2 minutes left? You see what I'm saying? Anybody can win when everything is stacked. When everything is expected, it's easy. It's easy. But who are you going to be when the chips is low? Who are you going to be when it's 4 seconds on the clock? Apply that thought process tomorrow. Take what we learned from our Bears and apply it to every aspect of life. Believe you can overcome. I'm nothing special. I'm just a reflection of the awesome people I get to be around. You see what I'm saying? And they just have to be Bear fans too. Like my brother Jordan Ellis, #Game6. You see what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we stay united as a fan base. But it's like my man John just showed, it's bigger than football. Okay, the Bears brought us together, but who we are when we separate speaks even louder. Let this season, we will talk about this season for generations. Our grandkids will ask us, how did y'all play football during that virus they talked about? What did you guys do?
There you go.
And I got to learn from some very awesome people. His name is Mark Nathan. And he said, when in times of uncertainty, you do what you do best. And you reach those people. And we get to be proficient in every avenue that we are proficient in. And that's what we're doing here at the Bears Barroom Network. Check out my man, the Badge of Honor, Ryan Badgley. We're doing so many. It's what Allen Robinson's doing off the field. Catch the Barfly Tailgate Show every Sunday at 9 a.m. And they'll talk about that. But it's bigger than football, guys. So as we get out this week, God works in the unseen. Who are you gonna say hello to that you wouldn't have said to any other way? Let's go out there and say hello to a complete stranger and tell them bear down. Do you have a football team? Give them a Barroom t-shirt. I mean, that's how we do it, baby.
Yeah.
We bring light to their darkness. All right? Don't skip like that.
There you go. All right. Anything you want to add to that, John? Because you're always good for an inspirational word or two.
No, I think he about covered that. I mean, there's only room for that, and that was perfect. And I like that. Don't skip leg day. That's just as much important as anything else as well. So let's keep it proportional. But I'm thrilled to be a part of this show. I'm thrilled to be a part of this network, and I love that we can have a good time talking about the Bears, talking about life, talking about anything else on this post game show. And every one of our shows is we have the ability just to go off and talk about whatever we want, and we can make a difference doing that. And when we have a platform where people actually listen to us, and that doesn't happen. Everybody and their brother has a podcast because everybody has a laptop and a microphone. So don't get it wrong that we appreciate everyone that listens to every show on here, because there are 9 billion podcasts that you can listen to. And if you just happen to listen to this one for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or the entire length of the show, know that you are appreciated, because that does not happen for everybody. So we also need to show that we appreciate people listening to us, because we can't take that for granted. We just can't assume that we have a platform. We just can't assume that there's going to be people listening to what we're saying. We can't just assume that people are going to listen to us talk about the Bears. We have to make sure that we're actively engaging you, giving you something that you like. And so we appreciate everyone that listens and watches this show for more than I can even describe.
5,000 views last week, guys. 5,000 views, Bears Nation. Mm-hmm. Come on, y'all. We love y'all. You know what I'm saying? This is for y'all. We living through y'all. And so Barroom Network, my man Aldo, man, we appreciate you, man. We know you running like 25 different shows and everything. And you make it look easy. We get to come in and plug in. All we got to do is watch the game. We get to watch
no doubt.
And so that's the way I want it. Bear down, Bear Nation. Let's go.
All right. We'll be back here next week after the Bears beat the Falcons and go 3-0. And make sure you listen to all the great stuff to get you ready for the next Bears game throughout the week at the Barroom Network, bearsbarroom.com. All right. Take care now.